Here we are.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
What's that?
Merry Christmas, you guys.
Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. I'm at my parents' house for a little bit longer. I have my dad's step over mug.
Oh, there you go.
Hinky and Vladdy.
Yep.
Various and sundry Ricky memorabilia around here.
What room is that? Is that an office? Or
No, this is the what they call the
guest room?
front room.
Okay.
It's like a half office, half just like a couch with a TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never know, aside from dining room and kitchen, I never know why rooms are called any other rooms.
No, they shouldn't be really called much.
Yeah.
But this is the room that will echo the least.
Okay. That's what they should call it.
Yeah.
When you're looking at, I've been looking at real estate listings, and that's actually what I need to know. Is there a room there that there will be very little echo, low ceiling, Is there a corner I can put some soundproofing in?
Yeah. What else? Yeah, there's the Ricky Forever poster, or Hinky Forever poster with the Ricky, all the red and blue stuff from all the years.
Mm-hmm.
That's there.
Oh, that Abby did for the Ricky X.
That one.
Right.
And then there's more upstairs. It's always some stuff that my dad has had for 700 years.
There's a lot of Ricky memorabilia, in existence.
There's quite a lot.
I mean, it's been a lot of shit. A lot of T-shirts.
Mouse pad with our family on it, but I'm suspiciously not on it.
That we sold that too.
Yeah, that's a little fucked up that you'd have my nieces and nephews and sisters and not me. That's a little messed up, yeah.
Well, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
The people wanted it without you on it, so we're going to sell them what they
Sounds
want.
Better, yeah. I get it. I'm for sure.
All right, let's go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by Draftkings Sportsbook. Sign up for Draftkings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Subscribe at rightstorickysanchez.com/newsletter. Since our last show, the Sixers are 2-0, having beaten the Spurs and the Celtics. The big question, is Mike going to uncall the season? He was not totally willing last time, but boy, things have changed a little bit. So we'll get into that. There's a new episode of the Draft Council this week, our draft pod. They talk about how the Nets should approach the 2025 draft, which may even affect the Sixers a little bit, as they have a couple of players that the Sixers might even want to trade for. So that you can get wherever you get your podcasts. Brand new Carl Landry Record Club tomorrow on Friday. What albums are we doing? Deftones, White Pony, and Prince's Musicology. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Now, if you were spending time with family over the last few days, which I saw Surfside at 3 different family locations. 3 different family locations. It's like everywhere you go in the Delaware Valley now, people know you got to have Surfside there. So if you're thinking about maybe you're having a New Year's Eve party, you got to have it stocked with Surfside. What variety of Surfside? Well, that's up to you. Whether you want the iced tea and vodka or the lemonade and vodka, and perhaps the green tea or raspberry or peach tea and vodka. They've all got 100 calories. They've all only got 3 grams of sugar. They all taste great, lightly sweet, and none of them, 0% of them have carbonation, because iced tea should not have bubbles. Get it wherever you get your booze in PA, which is now, by the way, grocery stores or gas stations, or even you used to not be able to get Surfside at a beer distributor. You can now, or you can order at statesidevodka.com. But remember, you got to be 21. And happy birthday to Christina. Now, you might remember, Mike, Stefan, who we wished a happy birthday from Christina. Well, he has come back and said that he wants to wish a happy birthday to his wife, Christina. Wow. Her birthday was on Sunday, the 15th. She deserves a shout out, not only because she's one of the many female Ricky listeners that go uncounted as we watch on my YouTube account.
Thank you.
but because she is the best partner to watch a Sixers game with and go to games with. We've developed our own little quirks over the years, like yelling out the mud whenever the Sixers retake the lead in a game. Yes, we have matching green B-ball Paul sweaters that she bought for both of us. So he says, happy birthday to Christina. I'm saying his name right, as Stefan, as he is from Germany. Happy birthday, Christina. Happy birthday as you go uncounted, as many, many thousands have. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy at his parents' house, but not in his boyhood bedroom. That is one Mike Levin.
Man,
So,
Sixers Celtics on Christmas.
Yep.
You just expect it to be ruined.
Yes.
There's, first of all, great day of NBA basketball across the board. Really enjoyed it. And the Sixers front and center. Sixers Celtics on the road, right smack dab in the middle.
Not the noon game, not the 10:30 game.
Right in there.
Yeah, the 5 p.m. game.
Everybody watching.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, why is this 10-17 bullshit team in the middle of Christmas Day basketball?
And it was just a sort of destined to embarrass us.
Mm-hmm.
And for once, a rare non-embarrassment from our enigmatic Sixers. Man, it was just a nice. Every quarter, I was like, okay, that was a nice quarter. All right.
Yep.
I was really trying to not take it for granted every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there was a few hiccups at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a really, really, really nice win. I thought it was Maxey's best game of the season. One of the best games, one of the most complete games of his career, I would say. As far as competition, it was really the perfect blend of looking for his own shot while also drawing the defense and then finding open teammates. He had 12 assists.
I think one under his career high or 2 under his career high or something.
Yeah, and he had no turnovers at some point in the fourth quarter. He had 3 in the fourth quarter, which was tough. But he got to the line. He hit those shots. His jumper has pretty much fully returned over the last 2 weeks. He's shooting 45% from deep.
A quote from Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. After that last bucket, Tyrese Maxey yelled at the Celtics bench, "Get Hauser out of the game." And Hauser has been removed in favor of Jalen.
Yeah. And it's cool that he can sort of he's the one who gets to decide the Celtics substitution patterns.
Yes.
That's a nice little wrinkle to this matchup. And I've been saying it all year, even as Maxey has had a bad start to the year for him, under his circumstances. His defense has improved in such massive ways.
Yeah, there was a possession late in the game on Tatum that Embiid ended up blocking the shot, where Tatum ended up getting to the rim, but he had to try 3 or 4 different times to get past him.
It's a combination of his steal rate is way up, way career high, past anything that was even reasonably close. He had 3 steals and a block in this game. He's getting his hands on stuff, but he's also just able to slide his feet with smaller guards and really get he's entering his Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul era of you can't move me that much as a little fire hydrant of a guard. And That's huge. That's enormous. And I just thought, like, in all facets of the game, aside from obviously he's always danced way too close to the half court line, and he finally got burned by it. And
Dude,
then
and
just
I
got
could
lazy.
feel it happening.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, I could feel it happening every time it doesn't happen.
That's right. That's right.
But this one, I was like, oh, why are you so fucking close to the line?
Yeah. Those 2 turnovers to cut the lead are just really, really bad. Really, and frustrating, and a black mark on what was really just a beautiful game. I thought he was really patient. I thought he drove really well. He a couple times where he like Steve Nashed through the basket where there wasn't something there, and he kept his head up and found like an open Yabusele for 3 up top. That was a beautiful play. He got into his mid-range really nicely. There were a couple plays early in that, what was it, in the fourth quarter, where he had one that was like a little just fade away from like 12 feet, and then one that was a really tough floater.
Early in the first half of the fourth quarter, before Embiid came back.
And then when they were expanding the lead without Joel and Paul George, I mean, he just played really, really well. And then you got to give him credit for that the Nick Nurse sideline out of bounds, where it was 1.1 seconds on the shot clock. They've run that play a couple times where Maxey pops up and then cuts right to the basket. And it was a nice pass from Caleb Martin, and he bobbled it. But Maxey finished a really tough finish, like around the rim. Just a great game. A great game from him. I was so happy for him to get it. And he shouts out my guy, Trendon Watford, who I've wanted for a few years, as his friend in the post-game interview. It was, I mean, they needed it, and he delivered, and it was awesome.
I thought one thing when he's at his best, and I noticed it when they were doing there's a few possessions in a row, and I think the second quarter where they were running a pick and roll with him and Yabusele, but I thought he was using the screens really well. Like normally because he's going too fast, they're almost not quite as effective as they'd be with a guard that takes his time a little bit. But I thought he took his time with the screens and took his time to diagnose whether there was the opening there for him to score, which he did on a couple of layups, or to just, Yabusele would pop and he would see that was there. But that only works when you, I think, take the speed back like 25% so you can see what the defense decides to do. And I thought when he's at his best, and his, from his assist numbers have been pretty impressive over the last 10 games or so. But I think when he's creating for others, he looks that way a little bit more than the, 500 miles an hour at all times, Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah. And I just think like seeing his assists go up and seeing him like start to look for guys, obviously always room to improve. I wish that there was not so many, like there's times when Maxey misses at the rim, and it is, as soon as that like rims out or gets blocked, you're like, that's a bucket on the other end. It is like such an automatic bucket, because he's either taking himself so far out of the play because he's so fast and he's like in the stands basically, or he's arguing with the ref because they didn't give him a foul and he got hit and doesn't get those calls. But I think for a bunch of reasons, it would be really nice for him to develop some deceleration around the rim, because guys can time that. I mean, he's so fast that he can beat guys off and sometimes they'll get there late, and a big will get a goaltend because he gets it up on the backboard too fast. But if you add just a little bit of shake there, a little bit of shiftiness, a little bit, all of a sudden they go flying by and he gets an easy layup out of it. And even if he misses that, or if that gets blocked, then at least he's not taking himself so far out of the play, he can still get back on defense. It just, sometimes that happens, but I was just so impressed by his game. And it was such a tough start to the season for him. And the team was losing, and he was missing, and he was forcing it, and he was getting pissed. And McCain was like the young, bright, shining star, and Maxey was like kind of getting a sort of a moodier personality change compared to McCain. But it's great to see him like be like back. And I do think like if you take the team out of it and you just take like, okay, for Maxey's development as a Sixer for the next 10 years, him making this leap defensively is, I think, a huge deal. I think a really, really huge deal. If he can become, I've said, Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry, but like Mike Conley on defense, where you just like,
well, that's a pretty big leap, though.
For sure, I think I think he has made the leap. Like, I think his awareness on defense, his willingness to just like passes that he would maybe let go by before, he is contesting them and he gets his hands on them. He's got a pretty long wingspan as is for a guard like that, and I think and his toughness and physicality, he's getting through screens. He's making plays around the rim. He gets strips down. I've just been so impressed with him defensively. I think it's a really big leap. And in the past where you've gone, especially with McCain there as a guy that they will pick on for maybe not this year because he's out, but in the next couple of years as McCain figures out NBA defense and gets his body there. But you need Maxey to not be another guy that they can pick on. And I think that time is over.
Especially against it. This is the team that you worry about it with.
Exactly.
And I think there was one play where Jaylen Brown just bullied him into the lane.
That'll happen. People will shoot over him.
It made me think of McCain being out there as well. That this, a lot of people brought it up, and everybody, me specifically, when people were like, well, how are you going to play Boston with this backcourt? And I was like, well, let's beat Detroit first, and then we can worry about Boston. Yes. But seeing Boston yesterday, it really does. And yesterday was the first time they started the starting lineup they were supposed to start this year with Oubre and Martin and PG. Mm-hmm. But seeing how big that lineup is wing-wise and guard-wise compared to if you had McCain out there against a team like this, it becomes clear the disadvantage that theoretically you could be put at when both of them were there. But I agree with you on in Maxey becoming better is an important part of that equation. Yeah. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Yes. Now, Mike, if people miss their opportunity to get engaged on Christmas, because Christmas is now over, there is the next cliche opportunity, and that is New Year's Eve.
That is true.
And look, be a nice little you don't have any good New Year's Eve plans, just fucking get married.
I mean, if you're looking for a time when the vibes are high.
Yes.
The Sixers have won a few games in a row. Maybe just get engaged.
Just do it. You get the ring from LL Pavorsky. If you listen to this podcast, you can't get the ring anywhere else. He is he's going to treat you the right way. Going into a jeweler, buy an engagement ring, kind of scary, expensive proposition. And they're on your fucking neck when you walk in there. Most jewelry stores, not LL. You don't even want you walking in there unless you have an appointment so he can spend time with you, be patient with you, not pressure you into anything. Also have the very best products. If they don't have it there at the store at 707 Walnut, he'll get it. He'll get what you need. So the first thing you do is you reach out to LL, you tell him what you're looking for. Then you make an appointment. You go in there. You have a nice time. You look at all the different options. He talks you through it. Over 400 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from LL Pavorsky. You should be the one, even if you weren't thinking about getting married. Hell, the next Tuesday night, New Year's Eve, I don't have any good plans. Well, you whip out an engagement ring. It's going to be a good plan. So you got to reach out to LL, make an appointment. Give him a call, 215-627-2252. You just email him, lee@llpavorsky.com. You tweeted him at LL Pavorsky. He is a supporter of our charities, Mama T's Community Fridge and Providence Animal Center, LL Pavorsky Jewelers. We were having Hanukkah at my brother's in South Jersey, and my mom asked if we should invite LL. And I said, I don't think that's appropriate. But he almost got the invite. I just wanted to say, came very close to getting the invite to my family's Hanukkah in South Jersey. No, well, I mean, he is a family friend at this point. That's right. Us, involved in our lives more than we had ever dreamed. That is true. So, Mike, before we get back to the rest of the game, and I know you're not a big voicemail guy, but I think I need to preface this question of you. We got a lot of these last night, but I'll just give you one of these. Officially turned around, guys. We are back, baby. We are fucking back. We are back. Classic. We are back. We are back. So the Sixers are 8-3 in their last 11. You said it's time to start beating some real teams. They beat the Spurs and the Celtics. Yeah. We overcame at least 3 that I count them what the fuck moments. Embiid falling pre-game. Let's be clear that we have blown past the over-under. Yes. It is gone. It is off the board. They are, I believe, tied in the loss column for the play-in. They're 17. They're 11-17. Mike, you called the season after the Celtics win. Before we get to the rest of the game, are you uncalling it? Well, because we're going to need this when we get into the Mike O'Connor wrote a thing about Jared McCain and blah, 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 when we talk about that later.
Yeah.
But are you uncalling it, Mike? Those are 2 big wins.
So if you remember, there was the podcast that we did, and it was after the loss and Joel went out with the sinus fracture.
Yes.
And then later that day, we found the McCain meniscus.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the first part of the podcast, you were saying this could be a multi-month injury.
4 to 6, I think, at the minimum we thought it was.
And then later that day was McCain's meniscus, and that's when I called it.
Yep.
And though they are going to miss McCain, and everybody misses him, and it just is joy to play with, and seeing a lot of Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson minutes together.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want one of them, maybe both of them will be better at the same time. Maybe we should be allowed to play with 6 guys on the court if it's just 2 of them at the same time. That would be interesting. And so that was kind of in a stage of just like, okay, everything is going wrong. It is ending it. So Embiid comes back after a couple games. He missed 2 games?
I think he only missed
one game.
Yeah.
And so
because it was that week where I think he only missed that Monday.
Yeah. Embiid comes back. The 3 most important players are playing, even though it's not been a great stretch for Paul George, which we'll talk about. But the 3 important players are playing. Embiid did get hurt in pregame warmups yesterday, which is another what the fuck moment.
Yep.
How does this keep happening? Trips on a security guy in Boston. That guy should be, sent to a desert somewhere to live out the rest of his days.
I don't think it was his fault.
I don't think so either, but someone must be blamed.
Okay. Maybe we should be sent to the desert.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
And so I do. If the 3 of them are healthy, then you go for it. The next 2 months for me between now and the deadline are those guys healthy, and what do you need for the team? If
they're undefeated in games where they start and finish the game, all 3 guys.
And that's undefeated in 3 games, right?
Yes,
we're saying
it
3.
is
Okay,
December 26th.
Yeah, so let's not be putting that on a banner just yet. If the 3 guys are healthy, you go for it. 100%. 100%. If the 3 guys are healthy and they keep winning games over the next 2 months, you go for it.
Healthy-ish, by the way.
If anybody so much as like breaks a nail, I'm calling it again. I'm out. I am on a knife's edge. I am hanging by a thread of being back in, but I'm also not, because I've called it, and I don't want to associate. I take that seriously. So my integrity says, look, I almost didn't come back from my honeymoon because the Sixers had a pretty pain-free first round playoff win while I was in Europe.
Yep.
So I'm happy to have called it and to keep calling it if that means they keep winning games.
Oh, that's an interesting thing that you may have to keep calling it. That is right. Because I think people can tell you've uncalled it. I mean, in your heart, you've uncalled it.
Well, look, I watched Sixers Spurs in Dave Reuter's basement with Dave and Tanner. And that was a nice win. Dave's wife MJ said, "I'm surprised that you still care this much."
Yeah.
And Alyssa says, "Yeah, we all are." Yeah.
By the way, saw Dave walking around on Chestnut Street one day randomly.
Lovely.
Just saw him there. Yep. Anyway, continue.
Great presence. Great guy to see out in the world.
Yep.
And then last night against the Sixers, I obviously very much wanted them to win that game. That was an unabashed, I want them to win this game. Don't embarrass me on Christmas in front of company. And so now that they've won both of those games and they finally beat a good team and beating the Spurs without Joel, which we should talk about for a sec.
We will.
I'm not. The calling it for me was never like I'm no longer.
I know
giving a shit. It was. If Joel's out for an extended period of time, hold everybody out with any injury as long as possible and get something out of this season, which would be trade some of the expiring guys for picks. Now, if they're all healthy, Embiid's face is fine. He's wearing the mask. He seems to not hate it as much as he hated it before,
Mm-hmm.
then you of course you go for it. Of course you go for it.
All right.
But I have called it, and it's not a switch you can just unflip.
Right.
So
it's like the button. It's like the nuclear codes.
yeah. So I've made my call.
Yep.
And I am now just a bystander of what happens. And if that means I'm not allowed to come to the parade, if this is the year, look, if this is the year, I was just saying that the idea of after all that's happened this year, they start 3-14, Embiid gets suspended for 3 games for lightly touching Marcus Hayes when he deserved it, and he deserved way worse. And Paul George misses time, and Maxey misses time, and then Embiid also misses time. You already sold the merch. You can't hold up another The Year Part 2 merch. Then I was just saying, like, let's look at the signs. Like, if you're in a relationship and it's going bad, you got to go like, hey, take a look around, man.
Yeah.
This relationship is over. And so I was calling this season.
Yep.
I was calling it like, let's just take a look around. Things have rebounded, but obviously things sometimes get good in a relationship over the holiday season when you're on vacation. Things start to feel good.
Yeah.
Maybe we could always be on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for those two to drop. I am waiting for Joel to possibly miss time because of the tweaks he had yesterday. Based on nothing. That's just me, you know, being doomerism a little bit.
Yep.
But if they're all healthy, then I'm all in. If they are not, if anyone gets hurt, I'm breaking the switch. I'm unplug. Not only am I flipping it, but I'm also like pulling the wiring so it can't be unpulled.
Wow. Well, if there's a parade this year and everyone says you can't go.
I guess I can't go. That's fine. The idea that it would be this year is hysterical.
Yeah.
After what's happened, but if it is, then
they are 11 and 17. So let's it does seem like I will say this. It does seem like the doom portion of the season. No, you know what? I'm actually not even going to say it.
No, do it.
No, I'm not going to say it. No,
say it.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Were you saying the doom portion of the season is over? Is that what you were about to say?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's Spike's first time in Philadelphia. It's Spike's first time doing a Philadelphia sport. That's that, and that's behind us now.
It's always
okay. I guess I'm just gonna walk. I'm gonna take one more step, and I'm not gonna look down whatsoever. I'm sure there's ground in front of me. Yep. I'm sure there's not a Looney Tunes canyon that I'm about to step into,
or a safe being dropped after.
A piano outside the window.
Okay. All right. So rest of the game, by the way, Yabusele is the greatest minimum contract signing of all time. I fucking love the guy. He does whatever they need him to do. Maxey said it the other day, whether it's hitting. I think the thing that I'm most surprised about Yabusele is the ease and professionalism with which he finishes inside by using his giant ass and positioning. Like those layups that seem like they should be easy-ish are the layups that everybody seems to miss when they're here, or that our backup centers are always missing, and he never misses them, and I think you play him with Embiid, you can play him as the backup 5 like they did yesterday with Drummond out, but he's been outrageous. Now, just a quick thing on his contract. Sixers Adam and Spotrac is saying that he is a restricted free agent. I don't think that that's true. Typically, the way that it works is if you get drafted, you are restricted unless the team decides to not pick up your 3rd and 4th year options. And they didn't pick up his 3rd and 4th year options, which is why he was unrestricted. Adam seems to think if you have less than 4 years of service, you are restricted. So he's going to do some investigating on that, because that obviously would change the prospects of being able to keep him past this year. But Yabusele was awesome yesterday, and I love him. He is A+ all-time process era Sixers role player already to me.
Yeah, he's shooting 73% at the rim, which is pretty close to the team lead. Paul George shooting 78% at the rim, which is very high. KJ Martin shooting 74. Yeah,
we haven't talked about that yet. By the way, another what the fuck moment. KJ Martin.
KJ being injured, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's shooting almost 46% between 3 and 10 feet, which is sort of that middle distance that you're talking about. Like when he gets somebody posted up and he hits. Those are nice percentages for a guy that can play a little small ball 5, considering the matchup. I really like him next to as the like first pass from Joel off of a post up, because he can obviously hit that shot, and he also is such a quick decision maker.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I think Europe ball has helped him in that way, by the way.
Absolutely. I think just talking about like Kelly and Caleb and Yabusele all together, I thought this was the first game that like everything just made sense. Like you have Joel and Maxey and Paul like doing their thing, even though Paul wasn't in shots, like all of them getting times to operate. And the other two guys on the court, which usually are some combination of Yabusele, Caleb, or Oubre, you're going like, hey, just like do the things that we need you to do. And which is like cut hard for Yabusele, screen over and over again, attack the glass on both ends. There was a good Caleb Martin tip dunk over Jaylen Brown.
It was fucking awesome tip dunk, by the way.
That was awesome. That never happens to the Sixers. After watching, Josh Hart win that Spurs game, Knicks Spurs, because of like the same rebounds and offensive rebounds and hustle plays that Josh Hart always does. It was nice to see them like compete athletically with NBA teams. I've been begging for athletes around Joel and now Maxey for the entirety of this podcast, and they have them now. This felt like a game where finally the athletes showed up on our side, and it wasn't just, oh no, obviously there was a significant amount of Kyle Lowry or whatever, and we'll talk about him, but like between Yabusele just like being bigger and thicker than them, and extending the lead with small ball because that lineup was decent enough where they extended it to the 15 in the fourth. And then Kelly didn't have a great game offensively, but I thought he was excellent defensively.
He was
moved so well with Tatum and Brown. Got his hands in there, had a nice block from behind on Jaylen on a baseline drive. It's just like,
actually feels like he didn't even touch the ball that much offensively, because I'm not remembering a ton of Kelly offensive possessions.
No, he just continue. He had a couple nice like driving kicks, move the ball well. He had a couple finishes at the rim where he can just like sort of using his length to like unfurl the ball like right into a little flutter. He did go up soft. Kelly did go up soft one time and got blocked. And I'm like, Kelly, I've been riding for you for so long.
The Tatum one, the one where Tatum blocked it.
You got to know that that's a turn, and just you got to stuff that. That just has to be.
He tried to go high off the glass.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Yep.
Let's not get cute here. But I just think between all of them, those are the kinds of non-expensive, because all of them are under very, very fair contracts. You said Yabusele on a minimum, obviously incredible. Kelly was on a minimum last year and was just as helpful. Those are the kinds of glue guys you want between these star players, that they can compete offensively, defensively, both ends, compete athletically, and hustle their fucking ass off. And that's what you've needed. It's just been great. And after playing guys that like, oh man, Kelly's doing too much, or Caleb's doing too much, or Yabusele can't like play the 5 for long stretches of time. It's like, yeah, obviously. All of those things are yes, obviously. But when you have all the main pillars there, they're doing the roles that they were signed to do.
Yep. We will talk about Caleb Martin's game right after we talk about our presenting sponsor, Draftkings Sportsbook. So I'm looking, the odds on DraftKings right now to participate in the play-in in the Eastern Conference. The Hawks are the favorite at -290. But right behind the Hawks at participating in the play-in, and it seems like the most likely thing ever is for the Sixers to get the 7 or 8 seed, by the way. The Sixers are -265 to participate in the play-in. And then they are, to make the playoffs, they are -210. So there you go. And then to win the championship, Mike, they are +3,000, which is down from +3,500. You laying any money at DraftKings on Sixers to win the title?
Man. If you would have said that to us 3 months ago, things would not be feeling good.
11-17, and we're doing a celebratory pod the day after the win.
When you set the bar at a certain place.
Yeah. Eagles also -8.5. Jalen Hurts is availability. Eagles -8.5 over Dallas at DraftKings Sportsbook. Jalen Hurts' availability not known. I think I've read 60% of guys that are diagnosed with concussions don't come back for the next game. Mike, who do you like? Eagles -8.5 over the Cowboys.
I feel like if Jalen plays, I think the 8.5 feels like a sort of a hedge in the middle of possibilities, right?
It actually felt like a little strong to me. I guess if Jalen plays, maybe you think it's 10.5, but Dallas hasn't been terrible over the last few weeks. So
I would say if Jalen plays, the Eagles. If Jalen doesn't play, I think the Cowboys will cover that.
Yeah. Well, if you
could use a good defensive performance after last week.
Yeah. It was not a banner. Turnovers are not. Scoring 22 points in one quarter, not optimal, as Washington did in the fourth quarter of that game. Well, if you want to bet on football or basketball, DraftKings Sportsbook, hockey, you're some kind of psychopath, college football playoffs, DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're a new customer, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins.
I bet some DraftKings yesterday during the Christmas games.
Oh, because you're back in PA.
I'm back in PA, can do that.
What'd you bet?
Lost them all. Just lost every one. A couple of them were because of injuries. Luka getting injured, AD getting injured were tough ones for my bets. But it's just fun to dance around in there. Set some parlays, some same game parlays. I was having a blast losing. Yeah,
little player props, which it makes the NFL Sundays kind of fun, and NFL Wednesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays and Mondays.
I almost hit a nice one, but Steph Curry just refused to get 2 steals last night. That was frustrating.
Was that a same game parlay?
Yeah. Everything else hit except for Steph. Come on, man. D up.
Amazing that everyone is just one leg of their parlay away.
Always.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code RTRS. That is code RTRS. You're a new customer. You get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. So, after missing a couple games, Caleb Martin back. Hit a few threes against the Spurs. He is known. He was a large part of beating Boston when the Heat went to the finals a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting 7 threes was not something I would have expected. I can't think of another way to phrase that. But
you're gonna bingo card me? Were you gonna bingo card my ass?
It's in my head because people have said to us that it seems like Bill Simmons is using it a lot now.
Yeah. Everybody does. And he
Caleb
probably had a
Martin
little smirk on his face as he used it. Like, this is a funny joke I'm saying.
His shot
hit him with a bingo card.
His shot still looks jacked to me, but 7 and 9 from 3, and he was the KJ Martin style. Aside from the one that he banked in, I don't think anybody was guarding him for any of them. Maybe one of the other ones, but just a massive game. They don't win that game without Caleb Martin, and he is a little things guy. Whether the threes are going in or not, that he is a guy who you want the shot to get right and him to figure out the injury stuff because you can see what a winning player he is.
Yeah.
In every other aspect, he needs to be able to shoot it, but just massive game from Caleb Martin, and love the tip dunk, by the way.
The tip dunk, and I think it was in the Spurs game where he sort of just streaked and had a big dunk before the defense was set, and that was exciting. He's so fast with the ball. Like, that kind of player usually isn't like competitive offensively, and even though the shot is imperfect, it looks like it takes so much effort, and he looks like he's shooting it on the way down, and the form is weird,
and he kicks his leg out,
to get a little bit more. It is he can still like really handle the ball, and if you leave him, he can attack the basket very fast, and is a decent finisher in there too. Yes, obviously, look, he was shooting, let me do some math, in the 2 weeks of like 6-7 games since prior to him getting shut down for a little bit, he was 4-4 doing the math on the fly, 14 from 3 in 7 games, including 0 for 1 in the last 3 games before he got shut down. It's like, dude, if you're not comfortable shooting threes because your elbow hurts or your shoulder hurts, sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
And like, I can't express how frustrating it is when guys are like, no, I'm going to tough it out. And it's like, you actually shouldn't. It's damaging to, I want to be there for my team. You're actually not. Because in that situation, the best ability is what? Is what, Spike?
Ability?
It's ability, actually. And if you don't have the ability to shoot threes, you simply being available is not one of the top abilities. Even close. So when you're hurt, please take some time off, because then you come back and then you're playing better and everybody happy. So that's good. The shot was looking good. There were a couple times where he was just waiting too long to shoot it. He's like, I need somebody to contest. So as soon as somebody comes over to contest, I'll rise up.
He waited for Pritchard to close out on him
a couple times,
to shoot it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everyone was making the Celtics killer, Boston Strangler,
Andrew Toney
joke, and I have a joke that I'm not proud of, that I don't want to even say, but I have to say it, and it's Andrew Twinney.
You shouldn't be proud of that one at
I
all.
didn't say I was.
Yeah.
But Caleb Martin is a twin, and Andrew Twinney
could
be his nickname.
That's a rough one.
No, I don't like it, and I don't. But I was obligated to say it. He's just been great. He's just last 2 games played great against Spurs.
Can I say, by the way, from the twin thing?
Yeah.
When they play Charlotte, I've seen a million twins in my life.
Okay.
For some reason, every time I see him and Cody on the same court, I'm like, man, twins are fucking crazy.
They're crazy. Yeah.
They look exactly the fucking same. When you look at this,
like, he's regular size. He's regular size for the NBA.
Yeah.
But like, imagine seeing 6'7" twins walking around.
Yeah, just looking exactly the same and shit.
Yeah,
that
would freak my shit out. Yeah, for sure. If they weren't NBA players and they were just like regular guys on the street, that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyway,
no, he was. I mean,
fucking wild.
They need those guys. This is what they're there for. Like, between Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre, KJ Martin, Yabusele when he's not playing small ball 5. You can add Ricky to that occasionally. He hasn't played the past few games, but like, just wing athletes that are hitting some shots and competing defensively and competing on the boards. Like, that's what the meat is. That's the meat of, like, you have Joel and Maxey and PG doing the things that they are paid to do, and you need some combination of those other guys to deliver enough at those kinds of things. And it was cool to see Caleb get hot. Kelly has had a good few weeks. KJ has been excellent most of the season. Yabusele, obviously, like, it's just starting to churn in ways that makes a lot of sense.
Embiid, a perfectly good Embiid game. Is there anything, Mike, that you know is going to happen more than when you know Joel Embiid is going to bring the ball up the floor and take a bad shot because he's pissed off at something or he wants to prove something? There's nothing more predictable than, oh, I know what's going to happen here.
Yes, I agree with that. I think we've seen him long enough to know that kind of thing. I do want to say that I do think it was a great Joel game, or like a perfectly, like, if this was last year or any real year where it's just like, oh, that's him just doing what Joel does, which is like hitting shots. It was good to see him hit threes.
Yep.
Has come out firing.
Passed the ball well.
Pretty regularly since he got his face broken again. 4 of 5 from deep was awesome. Getting to the line 7 of 7. By the way, team shot 19 of 19 from the line. That's huge, especially for a team that has been shooting very poorly from the line and costing themselves games. So that was nice to see. Joel obviously leads the charge on that. And yeah, like you said, passing the ball really well lately. He only got two assists, but I think there were many good passes that they missed the shot on. I was happy with how he's moved the ball and how they've gotten looks off of his post ups and stuff. Yeah, I like he's been shooting off the catch. I like that he's reposting. He's getting the ball back. A couple good deceleration moves against, early in the San Antonio game, and then also in the Boston game. I didn't think he was like foul baiting in ways. There was one play that he foul baited. They didn't give him the call on it, and then he tipped it. He like stayed involved in the play, which is good. I thought he just had a really good rhythm. And then especially in the first half. Second half, he had a really bad third quarter. And got into like, it was sort of the sludgy Joel stuff where things are taking too long. And he had the ball at the top of the key with like Jaylen Brown on him, I think. And there was 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And instead of just getting into a decent post up mid-range type thing, he does that Joel thing where he goes like, I'm actually Damian Lillard as well.
Right. I'm going to go through my legs. And...
I'm going to go through my legs and take a long step back and like do like a sort of a double step back. And I think that I think he should be fined every time he does that. Not that he can't make those shots ever, but it's just like, dude, you're so big. You don't need to make it harder on yourself like he does sometimes, because I think he wants to feel like, well, I hit these shots in warmups or in practice or whatever. It really bothers me. And the Joel, why is he getting the ball when they're pressing?
Well, and why is no one running to the ball, by the way?
Gotta get the ball from him. And I think that's Joel being like, everybody knows he can handle. He's an incredible handler for a big man. But he's also
7
like
feet tall. Yeah.
Trying to like do crossovers on a wing 90 feet from the basket.
Yeah.
There's no reason to hand him the ball there. I need to just have a lot more discipline from Joel and from the team generally. I would sometimes take Joel out in those situations. Obviously, if they're going to foul, like you like having him in as a free throw shooter, but like, let's stop trying to dribble through a press. I just coached a team to a championship that was getting pressed. Spike, I don't know if you know this. I coach basketball in Los Angeles. Coach Mike. Coach Mike. When she does this, do that. I ran a 1-2-1 zone. Coach my ass off. You pass through a press. You got to pass through a press. And there's nothing more frustrating than passing through a press when two guys are running at you and the ball just goes like, oh, there's the open guy. Very easy.
Yeah. Well,
very easy. Simply keep your head up. Up, guy's running at me. And then they go like, fuck, I got to turn around and run at this guy now. That is frustrating to defend against. And also the proper way to do it. Like too many guys, Maxey tried it a couple times and obviously he can because he's so fast, but like just make the pass to the open guy like before the double team gets there. And they almost lost the game because of a couple stupid plays, but I do think overall it's a good Joel game. I think when Joel is getting into the slow bad Joel stuff, the best way to know it is him passing out of the double team a second too late. Yes.
And whether it's in an offensive set or whether it's dribbling the ball up, like you say, he waits 1 second too long for the guy to actually get there.
Yep.
And that's when he looks clumsy because he either just escapes it by throwing this is in an offensive set, in like a meaningless pass just to get rid of the ball instead of a purposeful pass to make the play, to make the offense go forward. And it is 100%. that you can see it with.
100%. You know? Joel, defensively, this is the tough matchup, right? Where he's going to have to cover Horford or Porzingis. Mm-hmm. Kristaps left early with an ankle sprain or twisted his ankle or something. And Joel is frequently going to go like, fuck you, shoot it. If he doesn't feel like running out there. He contested most, but there were still a couple times when he's just going to be like, I'm not going to get to that. Good luck. And Horford knows that, and the Celtics know that. And there's some games when Horford goes like, oh, I don't need to shoot threes. And in this game, he was 5 of 10 from 3, which is wild that the Celtics starters were 20 of 40 from 3 in a game that the Sixers won, which is wild.
It's also stunning how many, when you watch the Celtics and you're paying attention to it, it's stunning how many fucking threes they take. Yeah. I think the whole first quarter, I think they only made threes for their points, or all but one or something. It is stunning to watch them. And they all are fucking good at shooting them, which is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. That's the idea is if you send help anywhere, we will find an open shooter.
And we're just going to keep shooting.
And we're just going to keep shooting those. We're going to take them and over the course of a game or over the course of a series, like they're going to go in more often than you're willing to put up with. And I want to give the Sixers, like, look, did the Sixers double still more than I would like? Of course they did, Spike. Of course they did. But especially against Porzingis, there was Maxey had him one time at the nail, and Reggie Jackson had him one time at the nail, and they didn't they either didn't, they doubled a little bit or they showed a little bit. But with Reggie especially, nobody doubled. And it was like, just force. Kristaps is not going to blow by Reggie Jackson. He's not going to back him down 20 feet. Make him take a tough mid-range jumper with a smaller man in his face. And he missed it. And think about the times when Joel has a guy like Drew Holiday on him who didn't play in this game. Like, you're not comfortable there that far from the basket. If you're like on the low block, 6 feet from the basket, then yeah, he's gonna get put in the basket. But if you're that far away, you just don't need to send help. And I'm glad that the Sixers didn't, and they forced a tough shot. And I would just try to do that way more often, because especially against a team like Boston or a team like Cleveland, which is different because they have a lot more like cutting from the wing, whether it's Mobley or Coro or whoever. They're just going to make you pay for that. If you send two guys, they're too smart. And so I always am, everyone listens to podcasts knows I'm just like, make them take tough shots. If they make them, then they make them. But like, the open looks are the ones that kill you. And the last thing I'll say about the game is it was a good Kyle Lowry game.
Yes. Well, when he hits the threes he takes, it seems like he can't. He drew a couple of fouls that were good.
Yeah, he grifted 2 plays out of it, which was fun. It's just
hit a couple threes.
Yeah.
Mike O'Connor's right. He can't get by anybody anymore.
No.
Like, just as a ball handler.
No.
But it's
But he had a floater to end the third, which was nice, and a big 3 in the fourth. That
floater was big, by the way, because that part of the game where they took the lead and they were up by 4, I think it was like 80-76. That's where I felt like the game was that's where we were gonna lose the game. It was a huge bucket.
Yeah, he finishes with the game high plus 20, and it's not because he was the best player on the court, but it is indicative of a lot of times since McCain's not there. Maxey played 41 minutes in this game. You really just need to survive those minutes. And they did more than survive this, which is nice after like a season of Lowry being, 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds, just running wind sprints up there. But I thought it was a good, reasonable Kyle Lowry game.
Some ref talk with Mike right after we talk about Big Barker therapeutic dog beds. Yeah, Big Barker, we love you. I hope you got your dog a Big Barker for Christmas yesterday or for Hanukkah. If you didn't, as I said last time, your dog does not know Christmas is over. No clue. Dog's a fucking idiot. I say that with all the love in the world. So just order the Big Barker today. When it arrives in a couple of days, you can say, hey, this is for Christmas. Like, oh, today's Christmas? Yes, dog, it's Christmas.
Yes,
what is
dog.
the difference? Yeah, come on, fucking dog. Look, the difference between Big Barker and every other dog bed you can buy is very clear. Big Barker is going to help keep your dog healthier and happier and not in pain, because we'll be sleeping on a supportive mattress, a real bed where other dog beds are not. Big Barker therapeutic dog beds designed to help your dog fight the effects of arthritis. Now, you could say, well, my dog's only 2. They're not going to have any arthritis when they're 2. Well, think about this. Your dog sleeps on a bad bed for the next 5 years. Maybe those effects of arthritis are going to creep in there sooner. So what you want to do is make sure if your dog is young, you get the Big Barker, or if your dog is older and starting to experience those effects, you put your dog on the Big Barker then. Either way, go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. You go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Not only do you get 2 processed pup patches, 1 red, white, and blue one black and white one. You get some stickers as well. Not only do you get a bed that's going to keep your dog happier and healthier, not only do you get a bed that's going to look good in whatever room you put it, but you're going to send us a picture of your dog on the bed. Official process pup with the patch. Throw them up on social media. Your dog goes into the Process Pup Hall of Fame, as all dogs do. As I said, all different sizes, whether it's the Barker Jr., you got a tiny little dog, up to the XL. Rebel is 40 pounds, sleeps on a large, probably could sleep on a medium. Same with Scotchy, probably could sleep on a size down, but they like to spread their shit out. So whatever. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Again, you get a 10-year warranty when you buy it. Foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you return it, you get a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Woo! So the Spurs game, just an outrageous experience where first, Andre Drummond and Victor Wembanyama are getting into it, pushing each other. Drummond gets a technical. Then Wembanyama slips and falls, and Drummond gets another technical.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go back because everyone flips out and realizes that Drummond didn't do anything.
I've never seen an ejection and an unejection.
Yep. Rescind the technical, bring him back in the game. Then later on, Joel Embiid fucking loses it on an offensive foul call, which I thought probably could have gone either way and is indicative of two players trying to draw a foul instead of two players trying to play basketball, which is one of the most annoying things to watch in the NBA is when two guys are trying to draw a foul at the same time.
Yeah.
Then just fucking loses it, runs over to the ref, screams at her, gets thrown out as well. Mike, you as being a longtime ref guy, your thoughts on this entire exchange?
I mean, look, I do think all the rules are completely made up. And the idea that you can eject someone then go like, get on back here. What if he started like drinking in the back? What if he just like was pissed off and he's like, I'm just gonna have a pour myself a cocktail and spend the rest of my. I was like, fuck, I'm going back in. Very funny to watch him Drummond run through the tunnel. I just sort of think, and put his jersey on. I just sort of feel like, let me say two things. I'm a little bit in the middle on a bunch of this. Obviously, ridiculous call to throw Drummond out for him Wembanyama tripping. Yes. I think the ref just saw him foul 2 or 3 times in a row and thought it was becoming like personal during like the inbounds. Drummond was saying was in Wembanyama's face, calling him soft.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guns were out essentially of like, if something happens, I'm tossing him. To undo it, I think is cool. And there was the clip of the ref saying, I fucked up to Nick Nurse, which is nice accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But to then in the same quarter, after doing something that embarrassing, where you should feel embarrassed by it, and then you undo it, to also throw someone else out of the game who is the most important player in the game, I just feel like have some shame. Like let someone else, let one of the other refs eject him. But like for you to do that, in the same quarter, I feel like is totally insane. It's like if you spilling like coffee on the carpet, and then you're like, oh my God, I got it out. Great. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I spilled coffee on your carpet. I'm so sorry. And then to also like spill it on a different rug that you can't get it out of. And I think I'm judging by your enjoyment. I think this coffee on the rug metaphor is killing. It's just truly insane, like, even on a human level, because refs like to claim that they're just like, hey, we're just by the book, we're just doing it, we're just calling it like it is. Unfortunately, there's nothing else we can do. But like there are people with biases and emotions, and the crowd like booing the shit out of them like has an impact. I just feel like it's insane to not go like, okay, I'll tee you up because that's too much, but like I'm not gonna fucking throw him out in the same fucking quarter that this happened in. I just thought that was crazy. But also, Joel has to absolutely get a handle of himself and not allow himself to be tossed in a game where it's like, dude, you've played so few games. The three of you have played so few games together. You cannot let that happen. You got to get that under control.
You can't run the length of the court to go scream at the ref. Now, she probably should have just hit him with one technical.
Absolutely.
And that's what should have happened.
Absolutely.
But also, when I'm watching it, I'm like, bro, like, that's not a call that you fucking light somebody up over.
No, I think it was a bad call, but I don't think it was such a bad call to get ejected over it.
Right.
Like Wembanyama wasn't set. I mean, he just has like his legs are just too long. He's tripping. He's falling down. It's not. Joel didn't extend there. Like if that could have been a no call or both guys got tangled or whatever.
Well, it was a no call, right? Oh no, they
called offensive, which I don't think
it should have been a no call. Like, but both guys are doing that. That drives me fucking crazy, honestly. So KJ Martin has a stress fracture in his foot. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Hashtag Andrew Unterberger. Hashtag AU. Hashtag broken foot. He is eligible to be traded on January 15th. I do think this, it sucks because he was playing well and he's become a real rotation guy this year.
Yes.
So it sucks for that reason. I don't think it necessarily sucks for the the trade. I don't think the Sixers are trading him. I don't think anybody's trading for KJ Martin because they need KJ Martin. I don't think that the value is in that. They're probably just trading it for the expiring contract, but him not being able to play at all potentially does hurt that. So there's nothing I can say other than we hope that this is a small thing, but a stress fracture, I don't think he's coming back anytime soon, but I truly have no idea.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I don't want to guess anymore. Yeah.
It's a real bummer. He's got I don't know, because he's signed to next year for $8 million as well. He has been playing. At least when they signed him, it was like, okay, this is clearly a balloon payment situation where they're trading him. They're signing him so they can trade him. But then he has played up to that contract, I feel. So if there's a team that's bad this year, or say, I don't know, say a good team has to deal with injuries like Dallas or something because Luka's out for a little bit, and they go like, okay, it's not going to happen this year, but this guy could be useful next year. I do think there's a possibility that KJ is helpful enough to where some team could look at him as part of a maybe part of a role player for the future, because he's still young and he's getting better.
By the way, somebody mentioned in the chat that it's a stress reaction, which is not as bad. First of all, the reporters were tweeting out both reaction and fracture, but a stress reaction is just the beginning of a stress fracture. So It's the essentially the same thing, I think, a little bit, though fracture might mean a little more severe, but it is the beginning of a stress fracture is what a stress reaction is. And we have no idea, and I don't want to guess on these things anymore. So
hopefully he's between, there's still 2 months between now and the deadline, so hopefully he takes as much time as he needs, obviously, and comes back and plays a little bit so they can see where they are and what they need at that point. Because I do think that there's a world where he's just very useful. He's just a really useful player. And if somebody else goes down, or if somebody gets less effective or something, that he might be a player that they need a little bit more because he can grab and go and finish inside and defend a bunch of positions and doesn't try to do too much. And the shot has looked a little bit improved when he's wide open. So I'm bummed about that. I'm still not in even though this was obviously the best win of the season, and even though I'm hedging as to whether I'm not back, but I'm hedging as to whether I'm like rooting for losses. I'm not rooting for losses. That's definitely not true. I'm not going to pretend like I'm rooting for them to lose. That is,
yeah, you did that for like one day, and I was like, he's lying. Yeah, I don't believe him at all.
I'm emotional.
Yep.
I react to how I feel in the moment, and it felt like Embiid breaking his face for the third time, and our prized rookie, who has been so much better than we expected right away, and is also just a delight, being out for the season with yet another meniscus. I was reacting to that.
Absolutely fair.
But yeah, if they're all healthy, I'm rooting for wins. If they start, if Embiid and PG are out, then we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we can pivot to MOC's article where he's talking about like guys who maybe need to be traded, and potentially listing Jared McCain in there.
So Mike O'Connor's article, and by the way, I want to mention again, especially after a win, fly the process, Rights To Ricky Sanchez.com/fly. Go to Atlanta with us. End of March. They're always just an awesome time. That's all I'm going to say is that fans of Philly is fucking awesome. All the trips are great. Whether the Sixers suck or they're good, the trips are always great. So go to Rights To Ricky Sanchez.com/fly. You don't have to pay for the whole thing right away. You just put a little deposit down, pay it off over time. But it's going to be a good time, and we look forward to seeing you in Atlanta. So Mike O'Connor wrote this at RightsToRickySanchez.com. You can subscribe to all of MOC's articles by just going to the website and tapping subscribe. That way you don't have to wait around on social media and rot your brain. We'll just email them to you. The headline: how does the Jared McCain injury affect the Sixers for the rest of the season? So it essentially goes to two parts. First, do the Sixers need to trade for another guard? And the second being, does this increase the chance that McCain gets traded? As far as trading for another guard, like if this season is going to be real, I do think they have to trade for another guard at some point. I don't think you can go with Lowry, and Reggie Jackson's been a little bit better than I expected. And Mike makes the point that he'd make him the primary backup at this point, given how Lowry has looked. And I think I'd agree with that. But
I don't think he looks useful.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not.
He just doesn't look as physically cooked to me as Lowry does, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Jackson to me is like the most just a guy.
Oh yeah.
Of anybody I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems like a nice guy. People seem to really like him as a teammate. Everybody raves about him. But there's not much on-ball juice. He's just a shooter at this point, and he's not that great of a shooter.
Then they do need even with Eric Gordon being, who knows what we're going to get out of him the rest of the year, even if he ends up shooting, but he's not a backup point guard, right? Like I'm not, if Maxey goes out for 10 days, I think we're cooked. We're in real trouble guard depth wise if Maxey misses a week or something. So I do think they need to trade for another guard at some point. I don't think they can go the rest of the regular season. And the point Mike made, he said, all things considered, I would say the Sixers' chances of having to acquire another guard to fill McCain's absence are reasonably high. The current group of backup guards might be fine where Maxey is playing 40 minutes per game in the playoffs, but they're just not good enough to carry the load for a team that actually needs to win enough regular season games to get there in the first place. So I would agree with him. Would you?
I just wouldn't spend our limited resources to trade for a guard who very likely is not playable in the playoffs.
But they got to get to the playoffs.
That's fair. Do you want to read the email in the rundown right after?
Right. Yeah, sure. So
because that's what I would do.
Okay. So this came from Tim, writes Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. I hope you're having a good Christmas, regardless of the disease we all suffer from, which is following this fucking team. Is it time to cut Lowry and or Jackson and get Fultz on a minimum? He'll push the pace, attack a drive, and is a good passer. Will bring more than any of the others. What do we think?
Yes.
Well, they're not gonna. So the problem being their proximity to the second apron.
Yes, so this would have to be not something they can do until after the deadline.
Yes, yep.
Or you trade, if you do a 2-for-1 or something like that. But yeah, I would.
Well, he's not on a team.
No, I'm saying if you
with another team to clear right.
Yeah, create a roster spot first. But I would, I would love to just simply replace Reggie Jackson on this team with Markelle Fultz. A better defender.
I wonder why he's not on a team.
Jake Fisher reported at the end of November that he's still dealing with injury stuff.
Oh.
That's why he's unsigned still.
Hashtag Jake Fisher. Good
wow.
One. Thanks, CJ. Wow, look at CJ producing back there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if he's healthy, obviously. I love Markelle. I love what he brings to the table. He's essentially, if you treat him like TJ McConnell at this point, which is TJ, by the way, who was 3 of 3 from deep the other day. Good for him. Still playing great ball. But like Markelle can get to his mid-range. Markelle can finish around the rim. And obviously they're not going to cover him from 3. But he's a better defender than Reggie. They need guys on this team that can pass and that can create advantages. And Markelle can't. He can create advantages. He can get in the paint. He is really hard to stop. He's so big for a guard. He's so strong. Him finishing around the rim would be really nice. I like it on a narrative level. Markelle's return. I don't know if he would like it on a narrative level. He might not want to return to Philadelphia. But Markelle's interested. And then another guy that's still unsigned. I was looking at still some unsigned players, and also it's mentioned in the chat, but Dennis Smith Jr.
Oh yeah.
Also a guard that is athletic, is quick, and defends his ass off. Has really turned himself into a better defender over the last since like his lottery star has waned. I think that would be a fine pickup as well. That would be a little bit more helpful. But yeah, I don't think they're going to cut Lowry. I think Nurse trusts him too much and likes having him around. But Lowry. I think Reggie could go when the Sixers have the ability to maneuver within the cap. But they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do any signings or cuttings until after the deadline has passed.
And then the other thing MOC wrote, does this increase the chance McCain gets traded? MOC says, my beliefs as to whether or not McCain will get traded have been flip-flopping nonstop since draft night. Prior to the season, I was convinced he would be part of a win-now trade.
As was I.
As he proved himself to be an absolute stud through the first 2 months of the season, I started penciling him in as untouchable, as did we, I think. But now, after he's likely going to be out the year and the Sixers still hold out some hope of contending, I have to wonder if it's back on the table for him to be traded. McCain cannot help them this year and could get a lot for him in a trade. If I was the GM of an opposing team, I'd say he has the value of 2 or 3 first-round picks. They'd have to at least consider it if the right deal is out there. Mentions Brooklyn, by the way, as a team who wants to lose this year and wants to get rid of good veteran players, and trading for a young player that won't help them win this year, it ends up being particularly valuable in a situation like that. So I think it does slightly increase the possibility he gets traded. It was down to almost zero, to maybe not almost zero, down to maybe 10 or 15%. And I think this probably kicks it up to 25.
I agree that it increases the chance that they will do it somewhat. I do not think they should, pretty much under any circumstance, because not only the kind of guy you could get in a trade mid-season will ultimately be a role player. There's not anybody that's going to be somebody that they're not going to get Jimmy Butler in a Jared McCain trade, who is seemingly once again available, by the way, which is
shocker.
Pretty interesting.
He wants to go to Golden State or
I'd like to see him in Houston.
Phoenix.
Him in Houston would be fun.
Golden State, Phoenix, and I think he'd be willing to go to Dallas, he said.
And Houston.
And
Houston was on there also.
There you go.
So it's going to be guys like the guys we've listed. Dorian Finney-Smith, Herb Jones, Cam Johnson, like the same guys.
Yep.
Guys I like. But like when you have McCain on a rookie deal, both because he's so cost-controlled for years, and also because in order to get those guys, you would have to attach other useful players currently on the team for that player. So it'd have to be like McCain plus KJ if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, then that also adds up in that kind of way. But like if you're getting up to Cam Johnson, you'd have to also attach like Caleb Martin or KJ or Kelly Oubre. And it's just like that is too many useful players now and down the road for someone who is still a role player. I just don't think that there's anybody that's going to become available. As much as I love a guy like Herb Jones, I don't think there's anybody that's going to become available that would be worth McCain plus other useful players for this year. I just think the striking gold with Maxey saved the organization in so many ways. And to go and trade for a guy who might not be much better than what is there over the course of a playoff series than like an Oubre or a KJ Martin or Yabusele or Caleb, because of like if you look at that and go like, okay, defense. The difference in defense, we're talking about a bunch of different people, but the difference in defense or the difference in like a couple shots going in a playoff series versus not. Imagining that guy going, oh, he only played 14 minutes or he averaged 14 minutes in a playoff series, and we traded Jared McCain, who might be the next Tyrese Maxey, for him. That will just feel like absolute shit. That will feel like such fucking shit. And how much the world was saved with Tyrese Maxey being as good as he was at that pick. To do it again with McCain, I just don't think you can move him. The idea, like, it is such a manna from heaven.
Well, I think what you're saying is there is a threshold with which you would do it, but you don't think that it's even going to happen, right? I mean, like,
I don't think there's a realistic threshold that I would do it this year. Name a player. Name a player that you think would be available in a trade midway through the season that would definitely materially help this team and their odds at winning a championship.
I will take that challenge for next pod. I like off the top of my head, I don't know.
I understand that. Yeah. But I think it's the kind of names we've already talked about: Dorian Finney-Smith, Herb Jones, Cam Johnson, those kinds of players. And I'm just not convinced that McCain plus a useful player that they would have to send out in that trade would actually make the team better. Whereas McCain over the next 3+ seasons, just on his rookie deal, 3 years plus whatever they sign him to afterwards. That allows them. You're talking Spurs there, like Duncan Spurs, where Duncan gets, if you match Duncan and Embiid gets to age, God willing, gracefully into like the sort of twilight of Tim Duncan's career, where when you have a guy like Maxey and Tony Parker and McCain and there's not obviously similar players, but like Kawhi style, this guy's all of a sudden really good. And the power dynamic can shift in ways that allows someone to age while someone else takes the reins. And there's like chemistry building between all of them, and there's a system. Like it is so fortunate that those 2 mid-round picks that were freshmen at big colleges, became as good as they were right away. I just don't want to spoil that for another George Hill, Buddy Hield style midway through the season trade. I don't think he'd ever be traded for a player of that level. Do you know what I mean? Like, Buddy Hield might not be better than some of the guys I've named. Might not be worse. Sorry. Like, these are role players. You can sub in and out role players. There's a reason why Daryl has struck on Oubre at the minimum and Yabusele at the minimum. Like, those guys get hot and get cold and become available, and some of them get signed to big contracts, and that's great for them. But like, the guys that you build your team around are not replaceable.
Well, what I'll do is I'll come up with a list of a few players and for next pod, and we'll think. And this isn't me. I'm not trying to trade McCain.
No, I know. McCain. It's worth discussing. I'm not saying they shouldn't even discuss it, but I just think you think of the salaries you have to put in there and the future of the team, and how likely that someone midseason can establish chemistry enough to lock in. Think about how bad the chemistry's been all season, or up until the last few weeks. It just takes time for people to get to know each other. The risk of all that is way too high to trade a guy that is projecting to be an all-star in Jared McCain.
And you don't need to respond to this. I just thought it was a good way to end our post-Christmas Ricky. We got an email, Rights To Ricky Sanchez @gmail.com. This is from Wade. Hey, Rights To Ricky Sanchez family, specifically Mike. And the subject line of this email was a Christmas thought. I just wanted to share that every time I've used a public restroom since Mike's infamous revelation, including this very moment, I have thought of the poop hammock every single time.
Thank you.
That's all. Thanks for not quitting the pod so I can still follow this nightmare without watching the games. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. I did use one a few weeks ago. Where was I used it?
Hammock it up?
And I pre-ripped it because it doesn't break through on its own. So I pre-ripped it, and it's still unpleasant. I don't think it is a well-made device. I think that we could beat it.
You pre-rip it though.
But it does help.
Yeah. All right. We will go Sixers. We're back. Hold on. Now is the time of the pod where I look at the games they play next, which that's
a nice win. They got the Jazz, and then the Blazers.
At the Jazz, at the Blazers.
And then the Kings.
At the Kings, at the Warriors, at the Nets. Okay, so this road trip, which is 5 games.
Yep.
Jazz, Blazers, Kings, Warriors, Nets.
Kings, Warriors is a back-to-back on January 1st and 2nd.
4-1 would be outrageous.
4-1. I mean, you need 4-1. I don't think it's outrageous. I think it's an incredibly necessary 4-1.
Okay. I feel like they'll probably go 3-2 or 2-3.
And they need to go 4-1. And I would, in that Kings Warriors game, presumably, look, I do think I'm worried that Joel's going to have something come up and he's not going to play for a couple. That's where we're at. Anytime he gets injured and he keeps playing in that game, I do assume that means he's going to miss the next few. I would split Joel and Paul George in that Kings Warriors game. I would play Joel in the Kings game, and I would play PG in the Warriors game.
That's the difficult thing, because you try to figure out if you just try to win one of them and get all the guys in there to get the more minutes together. It's a tough putt to figure that one out. Yeah,
for sure. But you got to win games.
All right. We will talk to you. I forget when. Oh, isn't it January 2nd in the morning? I think.
No, we got you on Sunday before.
Oh, right.
Eagles
I forgot what fucking day it was. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm not working. Hey. I've never been off at the end of the year like this before. It's the craziest shit. I don't even know what day it is.
How about this?
All right. We will talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. You know, like face.